Hello, everyone. I'm Sheriff Wayne Ivey of the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, and it's time for another great episode of On the Go with BCSO. As always, I'm joined by Sergeant Jay Martinez. I'm a co-host here on the Go. And Jay, I'm looking sharp, brother.
All right.
I know you're getting things done out there in our Canaveral precinct with your team out there and having fun. So we're blessed to have with us in studio today Brian Adams out of our training unit. Man, you guys, I start the show off with just simply saying, I tell everyone out there that our red shirts, as you guys often wear out on the range, are the absolute best in the country. And I say that with absolute love in my heart because you guys knock it out of the park.
I appreciate that, Sheriff.
So I got a whole just litany of things I want to go over today. So we're going to jump in this in the time we have. One of the things that we get asked the most out there is if you're carrying concealed. You're a lawful concealed carry, permit holder, and you get stopped in a traffic stop. What should you do? How's the best way to handle it?
I think it's funny we get asked that same question when we do our Saturdays classes. So they come out and they ask us, and the most simple answer to that is, you're not obligated to tell us that you have a weapon in the car. If you have a concealed carry, if you choose to do that, then that's awesome.
We actually love it.
Yeah, you can tell us that, but you got to remember, as deputies, we always assume that there's always a gun in the car, right? We're always kind of on that mindset. So if they tell us, it's very easy. We'll tell you, just keep it where it's at. Tell us where it's at. First of all, show us your credentials, show us what you have. It's just a normal traffic stop, and we'll just go through there. The deputy's probably just going to say, hey, just leave it where it's at. We're going to go through this traffic stop, and we're going to go about our day. And
it actually letting us know that you have it. And as you said, there's no obligation. You don't have to have a due diligence to tell us you have one. Yeah. But we do love it. And I think the point that I like to tell our citizens is when you tell us you have a concealed carry permit, it actually lets us know that you're a good person that's gone through the right steps and you've passed the background and all those. So what I always recommend is keep your driver's license and your concealed carry permit close together and show us both of them. But as you said, we train for there's a weapon in the car. And a lot of people forget that, we come to your house on calls and you don't have to have a concealed carry permit to carry on your own property. So everything you're doing, everything you're training our deputies to survive in this world is training them. There's always a gun. I mean, that's. I think that's probably.
It's true. There is always a gun because we bring one.
Yeah,
so we have to be cognizant that it doesn't matter what the scenario
great point.
is. So,
So I think another hesitation, and I want you to talk about how we train our deputies, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but some agencies, and I can't explain this for the life of me, but some agencies, if you tell them you have a concealed carry, they want to hold on to your gun while they're doing the traffic stop or dealing with it. We don't train that. We want you to just relax and
right, exactly. And it's the first thing I would tell people when you get pulled over is that exact same thing. It's just relax, right? We're pulling you over something. You may not know what it is. Just relax. Remember, if you do get pulled over, please pull over to the right of the shoulder, and especially if you're on the interstate, it doesn't give us a whole lot of room. We want everyone to be protected. So just sit there, do what you're supposed to do. We're going to calmly come up. We're going to explain who we are, who we work for, why we pulled you over, and then we're going to go through that step-by-step process, right?
And I think part of the thing that folks don't really understand is that when you have a scenario like that, you want to control the person. The gun is not going to spontaneously get up and attack us. You want to control the person.
Right.
So bringing the person from from what's known to them to what's known to us, maybe pulling that person out of the car to distance them from the gun. So it's about securing the person more so than securing the weapons.
My son, my oldest boy, is a state trooper, and I told him that same thing one day. He was asking, how do you guys deal with somebody who has a concealed carry? And I told him, first of all, I don't advocate ever taking a law-abiding citizen's gun from them in any capacity. Secondly, why would we want to put it in their hand to give it to us? And thirdly, if you're concerned, and it goes right to your point about control the person, if you're deeply concerned, take the person out of the car where you can see everything that's there. So, and you brought up another great point, and one of the things, most often when one of our deputies gets hurt, or really law enforcement officers across the country, it's in traffic accidents or they're hit on the side of the road, something of that nature. So pulling way off the road. We did a public safety message, it's been a couple of years ago now, where you popped into somebody's car and were telling them how to go through the process. And and there was some great messaging there. Pull way off the road, and a lot of people want to immediately tell you I wasn't speeding. Or, that's not the time or place. You know, on the side of that road is not the time or place. So now, in addition to the component of your job of training, or actually I should say, as part of it, you're training our deputies how to tactically survive out there. You and the entire team out there,
that's great.
Or how to tactically survive. What's that like?
It's interesting. What we really enjoy is the new hires that come in. So the new hires that come in, you remember you're getting all different kinds of ranges. So I don't know if it was this one or the last new hire. We actually had someone that was 19, I believe. Mm-hmm. So you have to teach a mindset, right? So although I don't like to say it, I'm older now, right? So
you are.
We kind of, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
We kind of do things a little different than now. Law enforcement has kind of evolved and it's kind of changed. It's actually a lot more dangerous. I know some people may argue that, but I like to say in my day, people were fighting me to get away from me because they didn't want to go to jail. Now they're actually fighting you to hurt you, right? There's a shift that's going on. So a lot of that is the mindset, and I enjoy kind of teaching what I've learned over my 22 years experience in law enforcement to try to bring these young people up and make them aware of the tactical situations you may be in, how to handle those things so they're better apt to go home at the end of the night, which ultimately as law enforcement, that's what we want to do is we want to go home safe at the end of the night. So.
Yeah, I mean, so really you're sharing your career, your experiences, your best practices and worst practices that you've encountered through the years with those that you're training out there.
Yes, sir.
And some of them understand it a little bit more because of their age and their own personal experiences. I know we get a lot of former military in our age. I love to recruit our veterans, man. It is they're already disciplined. They're already represented our country. Now they're representing their community, but it's a lot that goes into it.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, and then you, of course, have to keep at the top of the line of the latest training.
You do. You always have to, and all of us do as law enforcement. We always have to keep up with the going trends. Just because we did things 10 years ago doesn't mean you have to stick with that. There may be better things that come out, so we have to constantly go to training and try to stay up on that.
I think a perfect example of that is in 1999 when the shooting at Columbine High School happened. The tactical procedures then were wait, go in together as a team, and then address. After Columbine, we changed that mindset.
All that changed.
We were dynamic entry, first on the scene, eliminate or neutralize the threat.
Correct.
And so, you're talking about a tremendous tactical mindset change that took place then.
Yes.
From it. So now you're out on the range a lot. And
all the time.
Yeah. So have you always had a passion for shooting and getting out there?
I have. I actually started with the sheriff's office back in '92. And I was
I was 12.
12, yeah.
Thank you, Jay. I feel so much better now. So
I just wanted I didn't mean to bring that out about Brian, but I just wanted to know if you were alive.
But so that's where kind of like where my passion started for firearms is when I started working there, and I became a firearms instructor actually when I was at the jail, and then I went to the crossover and then came out to the road, and the training's just evolved since then. So it's just been a real passion of mine. Especially now, so where I'm at, where I can actually teach civilians. Okay, so we have the self-defense through tactical shooting class.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah, self-defense through tactical shooting and decision making. So
that's a great class we put on. I like teaching civilians kind of like our mindset and what we do to help them survive things out on the street in a concealed carry way. And you've been out there and you've talked to them, but it's great when they actually do some of these things that we teach them and they realize, wow, that really works, and here's why you do it. And it's fascinating. And they always leave that class better prepared, better informed.
And I'll tell you what, as much as I'm out in the public, I've yet, and we've been doing that class now for probably 4 or 5 years, I've yet to have a citizen tell me that it wasn't the greatest training they've ever gone through. And I'm talking about former military, former law enforcement, everything. It's an 8-hour day out there, and they're going to get everything in that class from self-defense through mental preparedness, which, Jay, you and I have co-taught for a long time, a legal block, if you will, about self-defense, stand your ground and castle doctrine. They get to shoot the simulator. And then they go out and shoot over 100 rounds through their own weapon out there under you guys' guidance. And everybody talks about how great. In fact, we started out doing 1 a month, and now we do about 3 a month. And I think we're booked through November the last time.
Yeah, we're always booked.
Yeah, so
it's a great class.
Yeah, and the ratio is perfect too. I mean, we try and really have a great ratio of instructor to student out there. Now, when when you're out there teaching law enforcement, you're having to show them how to survive in what really could be the worst moment, the worst 30 seconds of their life.
Well, you got to remember, we train for the day that hopefully never happens, right? So you have to be always on your game. You always have to have the latest training that's out there to give everyone. So when they come in those situations, they're fully prepared on what to do. And a lot of that, it's a lot of tactics, but a lot of that goes with it, which we try to teach as well, is the mindset. You have to have the mindset in the fight to win that situation that you're in. So we go through the latest tactics. We always go through that a lot. There's a lot of training that goes into that, along with the mental aspect of you have to fight through that. You have to fight through your fears to be able to do our job. Because let's just face it, we go out there every day knowing that we may not come home. So if you dwelled on that and thought about that all the time, we wouldn't be able to do our job. Because I have 2 young kids at home, right? I have 11 and 8-year-old. Right, he's got a lot more than I do.
He's got like 8.
He's got a lot more than I do. So, I like to say we all have something to go home to. So
they said kids.
Right?
As soon as you said 2 at home, I'm like, well, Jay's got you by 6.
And that's kind of the way I like to explain it. Is like I have something to go home to. That's what I go out to. So in any situation that I'm involved in, that's what I'm thinking. I'm going home at the end of the night. Tactically, what do I have to do to always win whatever situation is going to come about? And that's what we try to pass on to everyone else, so they win that fight every time.
It's funny because when I swear our new members in, I tell them I want you to do 4 things, and one of them is come to work and have fun. Because man, I love every day of this job and have for 39 years. Not just being sheriff's the greatest thing I've ever gotten the opportunity to do in my professional career, but I've loved every minute of it, along the way. So I want them to come to work and have fun. I want them to put bad people in jail because that's what we get paid to do. I want them to do it more professionally than everybody else. And then to your point, I want them to go home safe every night. And I tell them that's got to be your mindset, that you're going to go home safe every night from it. But you got to train for that. And I find it very interesting. Back when I first became a law enforcement officer.
When was that?
It was 1980.
Okay.
Neither one. You were.
I was in
That's actually
I think I was in middle school.
Yeah, but those 2 years in 8th grade were the best 2 years of my life.
That's true.
So, but back then, you're not even gonna know what I'm talking about. But we carried speed loaders because we were shooting wheel guns, and you would hear the stories of people that didn't train properly. And I think that's probably the biggest part of your job, is not just teaching the training, but teaching them to do it properly, and having repetition in that training. Because you would hear the stories about officers that were shot with empty shell casings in their hand, because they would take their back then we carried wheel guns or 6-shooters. They would take it and training. They're out there shooting, and it came time to reload, and instead of dumping their rounds out on the ground, they would dump them in their hand so they could put them in their pocket, not to have to pick them up later. And if you train that way, when the stress levels hit, it's going to happen that way. So how do we get around that? How do we?
You train as you would in real life. So that's exactly how you said. So everything that we run you through on the range, everything that we do tactically is exactly how you would in real life. So the old days of kind of like just standing in front of something, just going through the motions won't work. All the bad habits you do on the range are the bad habits you're going to do in real life. So we try to neutralize all that, take all those bad habits out, and with repetition and training constantly, you won't have that problem. It'll be second nature to you, and you just automatically go to what you have to do to win that fight. So,
now, Jay, you have to continue that training in your role as a first-line supervisor for agency.
Yeah, I actually get them fresh from you guys out of the training program, and it's incredible to see the amount that they learn in that first year on patrol. It's one thing to do a traffic stop and role playing, even with simunitions or the pellets that you guys use for that, but then to do it in real life, you know what I mean? It's completely different, and to see them grow is pretty cool. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to actually work with you guys. And, I think one of the hardest things that you guys deal with is dealing with that unknown, like the extra layer of the way a scenario can change. For example, now everyone has social media. Everyone has a phone with a camera on it. Yes. So you got to do what you think is a regular traffic stop. Now you got 4 or 5 people taking different videos, and how you manage that. How do you prepare for that? How do you see those things coming? And what kind of training do you provide an officer to deal with that kind of scenario?
Glad you asked that question. So the type of training that we give them per se is, don't worry about what other people are doing. Yes, you have to have situational awareness, but what do we have to protect us from? You have the training that you fall back on, you have policies, and you have the law, right? If we know all that, frontwards and backwards, it gives you the confidence to do your job. And I'm not worried about someone filming me. That's going to go in my favor, right? If I know all those things 100%, I can do my job effectively. I'm not worried about tape all you want. That's going to help me. right? So that's going to enable me to do my job better and not hesitate, because the people that you'll find a lot, there's some situations around the country, the hesitation is from not having that confidence, I believe, in total of what you do as your job, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
if you don't have that total confidence in your job and you hesitate, that hesitation, when we say this all the time in training, that hesitation is going to possibly get you hurt someday. So don't do that, right? Know your job frontwards and backwards. We give you all the tools, but we aren't going to be with you. Like I said, the red shirt's not going to be here. They'll call timeout. You can't raise your hand, and I'm not going to show up miraculously, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have to do your job inside and out. So know that. That's going to give you the confidence to go out there and do your job 100% every day.
Yeah, and a lot of the training that you guys, in fact, universally, it's not just the shooting, because our deputies are far more likely to be in a physical encounter,
Correct.
Having to fight somebody on the ground or something of that nature, even down to an automobile of having to get somebody out of an automobile and the car still moving and everything. So there's a lot more goes into it than just the firearm side of it. And you guys, that's one of the things that I think is the neatest about your job is you're one day on the range, the next day you're in the mat room. And
yes.
And
Yes.
so
as you get older,
that's not as exciting.
not exciting anymore. But yes, we train for all aspects. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Even to you guys are the ones that are delivering CPR and AED training and
Yes.
trauma training and everything else. So
Right.
you have to have a pretty universal understanding of what goes on in the everyday life.
We have a
of
very
law enforcement.
wide variety of all the training aspects, and that's our job. To be honest with you, that's what you pay us to do, Sheriff. You pay us to make sure that we are trained the best and we're giving the best. And I think that's what's great about who we work for. To be honest with you, you provide a lot of that training. So when it comes to Narcan or it comes to CPR, defensive tactics, how to go hands-on with somebody, where that threat level is, how to do everything in tactics, everything that you can encompass in law enforcement, from arriving on scene on how to get there to it going really bad really quick and how to engage and survive that.
I mean, driving and pit.
Driving and pit is, which is funny you bring that up because it's really weird when you do the pit training, because we're really asking people to do what they've been taught not to do their entire life. Right?
Yeah.
I want you to go up to this car and I want to take your car and I want you to touch the other car. What?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't think I can do that.
Yeah.
So it's amazing as an instructor when you start to do that. There's certain passes that you have to do so many on each side, and the way we teach that pit, there's a process to it. But it'll be amazed on how you go through the process. Now, a lot of Motrin is involved in this because by the end of the day, your neck hurts, your back hurts, right? So as they get in, it's a little rough in the beginning, but throughout the day, you'll be amazed about how proficient they are at really doing that technique properly, and then it's not such a bang fest. So
yeah, and to our listeners, if you ever see the cars going around, they look like they got big pieces of rubber all the way around. That's the cars we practice pit maneuvers in. So
they're kind of beat up. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, don't be afraid of us. We've got better cars than that.
Right,
so.
exactly.
We just put you guys in a whole new world, and even though we do our Saturday class where we're training civilians to be able to defend themselves, and one of the things about that class is it's as much about when not to shoot as it is when to shoot.
Right.
So it's a great class, but I want to shift gears. I just put you in a whole different world because I actually had you training what just days before were citizens to come out and be partners with us in protecting our students in schools, our Guardian program.
Correct.
And you look at the first group. I think there were 27 in the class, the first graduating class of Guardians we had, and what a very impressive group of individuals. But you guys had to take people that were civilians, train them to now protect our schools. What was that like?
That was interesting. You had a vast variety of backgrounds. Okay,
Yeah.
so you bring everyone's training and what they had, and then again you show them new methods and new techniques. And it was a lot of shooting, so they are very well prepared to do that job.
I mean, it's 176 hours
right, more than
total
most.
in the class.
Right.
We enhanced ours. It was by legislation it was 132. We jacked it up to 176
Right.
just because we wanted that additional layer of protection. But it had to be a different mode to
It was different, but in the same aspect, you get to enjoy. You start out slow, and as you start going through this, you see everyone starting to get it. They get the concept. You kind of hammer in exactly what your job title is going to be, why we're preparing for it, right? Because it's kind of different. And then once they start grasping it, they're really into it. They love what they're going to be doing.
I bet in a way they're almost easier to train than deputies.
Sometimes.
Well, what was unique about this group, and it was actually one of the things I was going to ask you is, when you looked at this group collectively, that first 27 we did, and I would imagine it's consistent with the other class that we did as well, but that first 27 collectively had over 200 years of military service, and I want to say right at 200 years of law enforcement service.
It was a lot.
And so you're talking about individuals that have certainly been taught technique,
Sure.
and are now being taught a completely different fundamental. And, I used to coach high school wrestling, and kids would move to our school from, another area. They moved here from Tennessee or North Carolina, and they'd come in, oh, yeah, I wrestled up there. And the first thing you had to do was break them of all the bad habits that they had learned somewhere else. And that's sometimes more difficult to do than imaginable.
It is. I mean, there's always like one or two that are kind of a little stubborn at first, kind of really set in their ways. Again, you're talking about people with 25, 30, 35 years in law enforcement, i.e. or military.
40 or 50 years.
Yeah, or that. Right. So
you say that jokingly, but yeah, I'm in my 39th year, so it's real funny. I'm Corporal Martinez.
Yeah. So you do have some of that, but what I like to say, and I kind of steal this phrase from my daughter's cheer. She takes cheer at Extreme, which is like a higher level cheerleading thing. Trust the process, right? So that's why I say trust the process. Listen to what I have to say. Just take it all in, and I promise you, it works. It's going to be effective, and you understand when you come towards the end of that process. So when I say that, they're more apt to calm down and go, okay, let me see what you have, right? Because you never stop learning. You can't be so closed-minded that you can't accept other things. Otherwise, we would never evolve, right? So once I hear that more apt, and then everyone's gets into it and they have a good time, and that's the good thing is that you have a good time, you're enjoying yourself, we're safe, but you're learning the techniques that's going to make you survive that. So it ends up being a good class.
So, all right. So out of all the stuff you teach, what is the subject matter you hate the most?
Oh, I already know the answer.
What is it?
CPR.
Yes. And it's not because I don't enjoy teaching. It's just sometimes you teach a lot of one class like for 6 months straight, and it just you hear it in your sleep, and you see the slides in your sleep, and you just kind of need a break from it. Is all that's. Yeah. So then you just have to take away from that and go to something else and let somebody else take the reins on that for a little while. But
What about taser training? Is that pretty cool to?
Taser training is fun.
Yeah, because you get to like deploy the taser on them and stuff.
You do. You get to actually tase somebody, especially the new hires that come in.
Tase Jay right now.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is the ones that come from other departments or that have already had the taser training. If they come with a cert, like they've already been tased, they've been exposed, they're the first ones to say, very first day, I got my cert, you're not tasing me.
Here it is.
All right, but you really know it's our option. I just mess with it. Like, it's our option whether we tase you or not. That's not going to save you. And then they're like, really? Yeah. I'm just messing with you.
All right, so I know you felt it, I felt it, and Brian, you have. If you had your options to be tased or pepper sprayed?
Tased.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's over in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel good. Right. But it's over in 5 seconds. And we all know when you get sprayed.
It's 30 minutes.
It's 30 minutes. And then when you take a shower later, it's reactivated for a certain amount of time. So
and I've had both. And when you get tased, like you said, it's over in 5 seconds. And you're like, oh, man, it hurt. You get mad when you get pepper sprayed, man. Even during training, you're like, this is horrible. I ain't never doing this again,
And it's funny you say that because I took a less lethal instructor class. And I didn't know I had to get sprayed again. Yeah. They didn't tell me that, but I went to it, and I hadn't been sprayed since the academy, which was a long time ago. And they're like, no, you got it sprayed. So I get up there, and they spray me, and he missed. And I tried to play it off. I was like, oh. And he's like, no. And then he just doused me, and I was like, oh. And then I was angry. And
I hate it, man. I mean, literally, you're mad for a week, know?
Yeah. The only way I could describe it is almost like having little pieces of glass in your eye. It's just,
I don't like it.
It's incredible.
Well, Two stories. One, when my son went through FHP Academy, I happened to be at the academy the day that he was going through pepper spray training. So I got to watch him go through it. It was awesome. I wish I'd have done it to him like 5 years earlier. Yeah. But it was awesome to watch. But it was also mind-opening to see here at the time, Robert was 20-year-old kid who's never felt the impact of it before, having the impact, going through it and being able to fight off somebody.
Right.
And I always tell our citizens, if a 20-year-old kid can do it, we know suspects can do it. We've seen that. Yeah. The question becomes, can you do it? Because with pepper spray, you're going to get it on you too.
Oh,
and so that's been. And then tasing. I've actually accidentally tased myself before. I was doing a presentation and I was using the flashlight taser and tased myself. Everybody's like, "Oh, that is so cool." I'm like, "No, I'm not that guy. That was an accident." So, now, favorite part on the range or where?
Range would have to be, absolutely.
Now you're also on the SWAT team too.
Yes, sir.
So that's intense.
It is intense. It's a higher level of training. We do a lot of stuff that's different from just your road level, so it's higher risk sort of stuff.
Yeah. First week of tryouts is brutal.
Brutal is not the word.
Yeah.
There's no words that can describe it.
Yeah.
And I often say this: if I had to do it again, like if you said, "Hey, we're going to kick you off SWAT, you have to do this again," I would actually have to think about it.
Yeah.
Because it's that tough.
How old were you when you went through it?
Oh, if you're making me think of ways back there, Sheriff. I was mid-20s.
Mid-20s?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have 20 people come out and maybe 3 or 4 make it through it.
Right. We've had more than that. So yeah, it's a tough process. It's a 3-day process, and we're gonna take you through the ringer.
Yeah.
So.
And I've seen the end results of it. And it's pretty. Profound.
I remember when I came home after my 3-day and I opened the door and my now wife looked at me. She's like, "You look like crap." And I was like, "Yes, I do, and I feel just like how I look."
Yeah, maybe worse.
Please move and let me in the door.
Yeah. Well, I know we are out of time, Brian. Thank you, man. It's been an eye-opening experience about some of the training that you guys put on. As I said at the very beginning of this show, I think what you guys do out there is second to none. I know we have people that leave our agency, and I'll see them at a seminar or something else, and they'll tell me the training that we had here is absolute best in the country. So hats off to you guys and the entire team out there. So Jay, we're out of time, my brother. So I appreciate everybody being with us today on the Go with BCSO, and we'll see you for the next episode.